Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I hope that you all are doing fine. In the previous video, I talked about the characteristic features of chemical chains. And the first characteristic property that I mentioned in the previous video was that a chemical change is a change in which new substances with entirely new properties are formed. Let us try to learn this point by citing an example. Let us take the example, a very common example, that's water. As you very well know that water is made up of two constituent elements, that's hydrogen and oxygen. As far as hydrogen is concerned, hydrogen is a very inflammable gas. The calorific value of hydrogen is extremely high. So hydrogen is basically supporter of combustion. Okay, hydrogen is used as a fuel. As far as oxygen is concerned, no burning or no combustion can occur, no combustion can take place without the support of oxygen. Oxygen is necessary for burning. In nutshell, both hydrogen and oxygen separately they are both supporter of combustion or supporter of burning. But when they chemically react, when a chemical change occurs and they react, okay, and the formation of water takes place. Now, you all know that water is a fire extinguisher. Water is used to douse the flames of fire. So, when a chemical change occurs with the formation of water from its constituent elements that are both supporter of combustion or supporter of burning, but as a result of a chemical change, a new chemical compound is formed which basically has entirely different property, which is the that helps us in extinguishing the fire. This is the first example which clearly gives us a clear picture that in a chemical reaction or in a chemical change, new substance with new properties are formed. What are those new properties? Those new properties are basically the properties that are altogether different from its constituent elements. As in this case, the water has got different properties as far as its fire extinguisher property is concerned, and the two constituent elements out of which water is made up of, they both are the supporter of combustion or burning, but water is showing properties against its constituent elements. That's example number one. Second example that I'd like to quote here is the example that I have taken from NCERT class 10th textbook. That's the first example that has been shown there, which is the example of magnesium ribbon. Magnesium, when a magnesium ribbon is burnt, okay, when it's burnt, it results into the formation of ash, which is magnesium oxide, along with the liberation of heat and light. So a chemical change here takes place. An element, magnesium, has been converted into its oxide. As we very well know that an element is having entirely different properties from its oxide form. Okay, so here also we can understand that in a chemical change, the compounds or the products that are formed out of a chemical change, new substances are formed and they are having entirely different property. That's the characteristic property. That's the first characteristic property of a chemical change that I mentioned in the previous video. Another point that I would like to add here is that in a chemical change, I said in the characteristic features of a chemical change, that chemical change is basically a permanent change. It occurs once and for all. Or in simple words, we can say, when it's a permanent change, it cannot be reversed. Okay? No power, no physical method can separate hydrogen and oxygen out of water. I mean, you don't have any technique by virtue of which you could have separated hydrogen and oxygen out of water, because water has been formed out of a chemical change, out of a chemical reaction. As far as magnesium oxide is concerned, it's an ash. You cannot turn back it to its magnesium element, so magnesium oxide cannot be reversed into magnesium element again. When you burn a paper, it turns out into an ash with the liberation of carbon dioxide, with the liberation of heat and light. I mean, you cannot convert all these things back into a piece of paper because it's a permanent change. It's a non-reversible change. The product that's formed, that cannot be bring or that cannot be brought back to its original constituent elements. So that's characteristic property number second, that a chemical change is basically a permanent change. When we say it's a permanent change, we are actually hinting out of the fact that the constituents cannot be, or the product cannot be brought back to its constituent elements out of which it's made of. Okay, so in today's video, I actually explained 2 points. The first characteristic property, that's in a chemical change or in a chemical reaction, new substances with new properties are formed. And second point is that, second characteristic property is that chemical changes are permanent in nature. They cannot be reversed, or in nutshell, I should say, chemical changes are just irreversible. Another characteristic properties of chemical changes, I like to discuss them in coming videos. I hope that you keep in touch with me. Stay safe, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.